be agent provocateur. And there are, as we know, fascist organisations trying to stir it up as well. So there's a number of different things going on here. And the more we talk up the danger of riots, the more likely it is they'll happen. That's the real danger. And the people I most worry about in this, Jacob, if you don't mind saying, is going to be innocent people who are annoyed about hotels, who get on the front line of that, who are arrested and charged, and their whole lives will change beyond recognition, may end up in prison as a result of being egged on by people who will have run a mile.
Yeah, indeed. That's certainly right to be worried about that. But I wonder if there's a feeling that the Prime Minister has no control over this, that he's not up to speed, that saying to the liaison committee that there was plenty of housing and that they'd been moved into this housing, it was just nonsense, wasn't it?
Well, I was watching that live, and I have to say, it was also one of those sort of moments where you think, if I was an advisor still, I'd be thinking, now then, we need to start rowing back on that somewhat. Yeah, quite. There isn't a massive surfeit of available housing, of course. There are some places where you could do this, but I think, the other thing I'd say, you're right, well, two things. One is, I'd go after the profiteering hotel owners. I don't think they should be allowed to make a mint. The one in Eastbourne, which is now being closed, and, they've managed to make a fortune out of this contract with the Home Office. The big chains similarly. It's just not on. Either we should sequestrate some of the money back or do something so they just don't profit from it. And the other, and this will be controversial, is that I would put the people in the hotels to work in some way so that they're not hanging around.
Well, they are for the moment for Deliveroo, aren't they?
No, but legal work, possibly with high-vis, maybe cleaning up canals or roadsides or picking up litter or painting walls. But work gangs where people could see the migrants actually doing something useful in the community, not just hanging about smoking, which is what happens now.
I have a certain grudging acknowledgement of the point that Paul's just made. It's patently obvious that every single migrant that has got here is never going anywhere else other than this country. But Mr. and Mrs. Voter simply see the pictures by your Home Affairs correspondent every day. He's policing Dover with his cameraman, and he's counting them in. And the public are just simply saying 600 every day, 50,000 by the end of this year, track up to the next general election, 250,000, carry on for another 5 years.
It's absolutely unsupportable. But the government is all over this. They're not just ignoring it, and I don't think there is a sense that it doesn't matter.
Well, they're providing a taxi service.
I think they know full well
in the
how toxic this will be at a general election. I think
we've got to pull out of the European Convention on Human Rights. Trump's done it by 91% reduction in April, illegal arrivals from the Mexican border. Anyway, thanks to my panel. Shortly, it's the latest blow for the Reverend Sir Keir Starmer.
Hi, how you doing? We're back and we're ready for it all over again.
Well, there we go.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean All Clear Skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
If you're off on your holidays this week, let's take a look at the weather across Europe. So particularly hot for Italy and Greece, but further west, particularly windy for the Canary Islands and down the western coast of Portugal and in particularly the southwestern part of the Mediterranean. Thunderstorms for southeastern Spain, across France and northern Italy, but it's southern Italy and Greece that will be looking particularly hot, warmer than usual, and that heat is likely to last into the weekend.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Well, welcome back, and guess who's back?
Hi, how you doing? We're back and we're ready for it all over again.
Well, it's the one and only Jeremy Corbyn is back, and he has confirmed his new party with fellow radical leftist Zara Sultana will go ahead, and in what could be a significant headache for the Prime Minister. Polling conducted when the idea was first floated suggested the party would split Labour's vote in half. Well, I'm joined now by socialist commentator and founder of Turned Left Media, Christys Daly. Curtis, thank you very much for joining me. How important is this new party going to be? And is Jeremy Corbyn the man of the future, or is he yesterday's man?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on. Really interesting questions there. I think it's definitely true that they pose a threat to the Labour Party. I mean, we've seen polls where they're on 12%, 15%. One poll had this new Jeremy Corbyn Sultana party without even a name tied with the Labour Party. I suppose a question about whether Jeremy Corbyn is the future or yesterday's man. He's clearly still very popular. As I've read so far, 80,000 people have signed up to the party in 5 hours. But obviously he is a bit older, and I personally think he's probably trying to foster in a new generation. So I don't know whether he's going to be like the sole leader for the next 5 years, or he's going to sort of try and become prime minister or anything like that. I think he just wants to use his campaigning skills and maybe usher in a new generation. And obviously Zara Sultana is quite young. So yeah, I do think it's a big headache for Keir Starmer, though. I think that much is true.
Because it takes away half Labour's vote, and in the first-past-the-post system, that's completely destructive. It therefore becomes much worse in terms of parliamentary seats. And is there any route back for Jeremy Corbyn and Zara Sultana into the Labour Party? Would that ease the situation, or is any possibility of support for one another for the birds?
I honestly don't think there's any way back, and that's not through lack of trying. Look, Keir Starmer said a couple of years ago, a lot of people have seen this video, where he said, look, we've changed the Labour Party, there's the door you can leave. And I think he made so many changes which were so unfavourable to the base of the party. They wouldn't have Jeremy Corbyn back. They certainly don't want Zara Sultana. Keir Starmer's kind of acted like someone who wants all of his MPs to look like him in his own image. So that's not the case. But yeah, you are right in a sense that it would be better for the Labour Party if they actually reached out to their left-wing voters. Of course, they did win a landslide, but let's be honest, it was a loveless landslide. I think it's personally due to the fact that the Conservatives lost the election rather than Labour being particularly popular. And of course, they're now not leading in the polls. Reform are way ahead. So, I mean, I don't know if Jeremy Corbyn will even accept the invitation, but for a long time, I think he wanted to try and reconcile with the Labour Party, and he realised that probably wasn't the case. All
right. Well, thank you very much, Christys, for that analysis. I'm now still got my panel with me, Michael Brown and Paul Richards. Paul, let me come to you first. It was a big mistake to expel Corbyn, wasn't it? Because this is the natural consequence. And you've got to recognise that all political parties that succeed in a first-past-the-post system are coalitions, and they have to have their left and the right within them.
So here's a political pop quiz for you, Jacob, OK? What do the following have in common? Oswald Mosley, George Galloway, Arthur Scargill, Ken Loach and now Jeremy Corbyn.
Well, a number of them were former Labour MPs.
They've all tried to start a party by splitting away from the Labour Party, right? And we have a history, under Fast Past the Post, of this happening. These splinters go off into the wilderness and they end up nowhere. Maybe 1 or 2% of the vote, maybe coming third or fourth in elections, in constituencies. And we have been here before so many times.
You could add Roy Jenkins and Shirley Williams,
which almost succeeded but didn't. And they've been cabinet ministers.
But gave the Tory party enormous majorities in 1983 and 1987.
But that's a different phenomenon. This is left splits. And if you get 5 of these guys in a room, you get 6 factions within a day. The splits are inevitable. In fact, you've seen some of the splits today where Corbyn launched the party, but his co-leader wasn't even there. So where's she? This guy just now, Curtis, saying, oh, well, he won't be the leader at the time of the next election. He's already discounted Corbyn for being too old. You know, it's a shambles, Jacob, an absolute shambles.
All right, but doesn't it reveal something? Same problem for the Tories with reform. And I think reform is much more sensible than I think a Jeremy Corbyn party is. but that the voters are deeply, deeply fed up because they vote for things and nothing changes.
Well, nothing will change for voting for these guys. I mean,
but they're now looking for something that is offering more change.
Well, we did try this in 2019, didn't we? Jeremy Corbyn did lead a major political party, and he went down to the worst defeat since 1935. A lot of the churn of the votes, I think, on the left will actually come from the Greens, interestingly. I think the Greens are the ones who have to worry, because a lot of that vote, that sort of Corbynite Green vote, will go to this new political form. They haven't decided what to call it yet. You know, they've put it out to public tender to sort of work out. So I'm, you know, Boaty
McParty face, yes.
Well, Voty McVote face, I was thinking.
Voty McVote face.
And there will probably, your viewers will probably want to suggest their own names as well.
They can send in the mail mogs on that.
Yeah.
I mean, from our point of view, this is great spectator sport because there's nothing we want more than the left to be split. It makes it easier for the right, particularly if the right can unite.
Well, absolutely, but let's just take it step by step. I agree with Paul that the percentage share of the vote nationally that this party is likely to get may be well into only single figures. But there is one big difference between then and now when you were quoting the other examples. Then it was a 2.5 party system. When you've got 5 candidates already standing for major parties in a constituency, a handful of votes away from Starmer for the real Jeremy Corbyn Labour Party, or whatever he's going to call it, the Trotskyist Party, whatever, and all the rest of it. And let's not forget, he will get disproportionate publicity. I mean, Glastonbury must already be on the phone to him to say, are you coming down so that, because we've got, you know, 100,000 people to wave their arms, oh, Jeremy Corbyn, oh, Jeremy Corbyn. And let us not forget, just one quick thing. In 2019, never forget that Jeremy Corbyn, losing disastrously, got more votes than Keir Starmer last year.
And, Paul, I wonder if you underestimate Corbyn. In 2017, he had enormous appeal.
4, 3.
And we are live. Hello, everybody. Well, thank you very much for everybody who signed up. We are not going to let a few little technical gremlins get in the way of what is going to be a box office show. So thank you to all of you wonderful people who travel far and wide. We've got people from all over the place. In fact, I've heard one bloke's even travelled from Doha somewhere, I believe. So,
a lady.
Well done. One lady has travelled from Doha. Yes, all right. There you are. Hello. We'll see you in a second. But loads on tonight. The doctors are striking again, aren't they? What do we think of that? No? OK. We got any doctors in, just in case we do any of us have a health problem? Trey, good, all right. Well, it's good to know. It's good to know. Jeremy Corbyn set up a new party? Yeah. Oh, OK. Yeah, a bit of a mixed bag there. We're also going to be looking at the fact that apparently now there is scattered protests taking place at various different migrant hotels across the country. As far as we're aware at the moment, it's all peaceful. We hope it all stays that way. But something's happening a little bit in Britain, isn't it, where people, you know, it's very often mums, isn't it? And the Save Our Kids chant is happening now. So hopefully no one gives the mainstream media the opportunity to call anyone far right, and it just stays that way, and it's normal, ordinary people making their voices heard. But we're going to crack on with the doctors' strike. So doctors had quite a big pay rise about a year ago, right? And now they've come back for more. So they want like another 29% pay rise. And I think many people feel as though it's a little bit much. It's day one of the strike today. People inevitably will die. Wes Streeting's holding firm. Sir Keir Starmer's holding firm at the moment. So, does anyone here think the doctors need another pay rise? No. No. All right. Well, that's the level of public support. Christys, I'll start with you on this. The doctors, the pay rise, should they just get back on the wards?
Yes, absolutely. It's completely and utterly wrong that they are doing this because people will die. I mean, it goes against... I was under the impression that when you became a doctor, you were hoping that people might live. I mean, is that not the reason why someone becomes a doctor? They had a massive pay rise. We were promised, by the way, remember we were promised by this new government, oh, we'll all get round the table, we'll all have a nice chat, and we'll never have any of these strikes again. I mean, what a load of old bunkum that was. And unfortunately, we are skint. We are borrowing like there is no tomorrow. We cannot tax people anymore to pay for this stuff. And if you are a doctor, your pension is more gold-plated than you'd probably find on a
Saudi prince's Rolls Royce.
Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you.
You set them up, Chris, so I'll knock them down. I'll tell you what, the lady from Doha's seen a few of them, actually. That's all right. Go on, Andrea, your views when it comes to this doctors' strike. Any sympathy for the doctors?
Well, it's always the junior doctors, isn't it? I mean,
resident, they'll get very upset if you don't call them resident.
Look, do you remember when they were striking just a few years ago because they wanted triple pay on the weekends?
Right.
I mean, it's like, you know, the NHS should be 24/7, shouldn't they? Look, I firmly believe, Patrick, that anybody who's paid for by the taxpayer should not be allowed to strike. I cannot stand trade unions. So I say to the doctors, get back to the work. The patients should come before their ego.
Well, Bill, what the doctors say is that they need these pay rises so their pay rises in line with inflation. Do they?
That's rubbish.
Right.
The claim is utterly indefensible. They had 22% over 2 years last year. They've got the biggest rise in the public sector this year at 5.4%, and they're now asking for 29%. Their pay comparability figures are really dodgy. They use RPI instead of CPI. If you use 2015 as the baseline, actually their pay has gone up significantly in the last few years. And the starting salary for a junior medic or a junior doctor is 39 grand a year, which I think in most people's terms is a reasonable salary. And just when we're starting to turn the NHS round, with waiting lists falling, they do this. I think the government's got to stick to its guns. Yes, they can negotiate on non-pay issues, but on the pay issue, no way.
I do wonder if this is kind of what you get, though, Miriam, if you spend the last however many years, as Labour did, sucking up to the junior doctors, in some cases being out on the picket line, supporting them, saying it's all nasty Tories making doctors poor and leaving to Australia. Have they reaped what they sow?
Yes, possibly. I feel that someone should put an alternative point of view here. I agree with a lot of what's been said, but I think that the junior doctors are right that their pay has been eroded by inflation, but so has pretty much everybody. We've had terrible inflation for 50 years, particularly the last 10, and it is absolutely the case that public sector workers have seen their pay drop. And junior doctors are in a position where over their lifetime they will have very good earnings and a very secure job, although not perhaps so much at the moment where there are a lot of junior doctors who aren't getting the training positions. But nevertheless, the starting salary is much less competitive than it used to be. But the NHS is not a competitive marketplace. We don't have competitive healthcare in this country, so that is a problem. So I do have some sympathy with them. But on the other hand, the BMA has been completely taken over by far-left activists. We've seen this on the trans movement particularly. So I'm not convinced that the BMA actually represents ordinary doctors on this. And junior doctors work a lot fewer hours than they used to. My dad was a junior doctor when I was born, and we had to go to the hospital to see him because he never came home. They worked 100-hour weeks in those days. That's not the case anymore.
Well, the Prime Minister has just accused the junior doctors, resident doctors, of playing into the hands of Nigel Farage. I think Keir Starmer's been playing into the hands of Nigel Farage, hasn't he?
So do you think it would be easier to start listing things that aren't Nigel Farage's fault?
Yeah.
Because what's happening in Epping, and those are Nigel Farage's fault. Junior doctor Nigel Farage is a fault. I mean, I woke up with a little bit of a bad back this morning as well, and I'm furious with Nigel Farage about that. Absolutely
what
fuming.
You and Nigel get up to in his spare time, Chris, though, it's entirely up to you.
He's carrying the country.
Yeah, he's carrying the country. There you go. But but it's obviously a bit of a ridiculous thing to say.
Yeah, it is. It's silly, and I think that Keir Starmer just keeps reaching into his back pocket. Keir Starmer is obsessed with Nigel Farage. I mean, I think it's like becoming a little bit unhealthy.
It's the biggest threat, though, isn't it, to
There is a
Labour?
broader point that actually there are people in this country who don't support the National Health Service structure.
Yeah.
And what the junior doctors are doing, I think, is giving succour to people who don't believe in the NHS.
Now, Wes Streeting and Keir Starmer are saying they're going to be tough on these strikes, but the problem is that at the moment, going through Parliament is the Employment Rights Bill, which is going to give unions more power. It's going to make it even more difficult for Wes Streeting, who I do think is broadly in the right place on a lot of these things. It's going to make it more difficult for him to not back these strikes. So the government is being pulled in two directions.
What we're going to do is, obviously, we're having... so some little technical gremlin. It's live.
Nigel Farage's fault.
It's Nigel Farage's fault. Nigel
Farage's fault.
Got in here and he cut a cable and then... But what I'm going to do is...
It's the BBC.
Does anyone have a point they would like to make about the junior doctors or anything like that? Just raise your hand.
Point, Patrick, but
It's happening. Go on.
What
Go on.
about the nurses? The nurses hold the wards to a T, and the HCA. They don't go on strike.
OK. All right, so nurses. So I'll just repeat that for everyone at home. A lady on the front row there who's making the point that maybe, I think broadly speaking, the public might have a bit more sympathy for nurses over pay issues. How would people feel about that? Would you have more sympathy, not necessarily for a nurses' strike, but for a nurses' pay rise?
Yes.
Yeah? By a show of hands, anyone for more sympathy for the nurses? There you go. All right, that's that. What do you make of that then, Andrew? If we're dishing out pay rises, or if anyone wants to go and start picketing, maybe the nurses are a bit more sympathy.
I'd ban strikes full stop in Britain. Yeah. Like, we're a westernised country. You know, we've got some of the best standards in employment, even better than a lot of the EU, even including maternity leave, etc. and paternity. No, just stop striking. It cripples Britain.
Bill, cancel strikes, ban the strikes.
I wouldn't agree in that. People have a right to withdraw their labour, but I think
get paid.
I think in the hierarchy of trade unions, the BMA is one of the most unreasonable. And you're right that they have been captured at the leadership level within the BMA for the junior doctors by the far left. And they are driving this confrontation. And it's got to be resisted. It's got to be resisted because of the knock-on consequences for others. Because if the government cedes ground on this pay claim, then others are going to say, well, what about us?
People try to ban public sector strikes. Everything that comes out of the...
Well, no one else can really strike, can they? I mean, I'm not being funny, but if I ever rocked up here one day and went, sorry, I'm not working today, I'm going on strike, they'd say, all right, well, go then.
I would drag your cold dead body off this stage. I would be in that seat before you can even finish that sentence.
I come in some nights when we think there's no one in the office at about 3 a.m. and Christys sitting in the seat like this, just in case.
Oh, come on.
Just in case.
But historically, there has been a very important role for private sector trade unions. And actually, if you look at the industries that historically have been unionised, steel, for example, they are much better paid, even today, than other comparable industries. So they have been successful at collective bargaining in those industries. But the point is, those industries are private. So if employers treat them badly, then it's the employers that are going to lose out if the workers go on strike and the public can go elsewhere. You can't do that in the public sector because there is no elsewhere. There is no
policy then.
Exactly. No, I agree. David Frost wrote a piece today in the Telegraph saying exactly that. Public sector workers should not be allowed to strike because their paymaster is the taxpayer.
All right, guys. Well, look, a lively start, especially, I think, given the circumstances. So thank you very much, everyone. When we come back, we're going to be talking about Jeremy Corbyn and Zara Sultana's new party. The polling on that is very interesting. What does Sir Keir Starmer do? Have we got any concerns that that might lead to more sectarianism in British politics? That could be an issue there as well that we're talking about. And, yeah, there's loads else on as well. We're going to be talking about asylum seekers, apparently, who refuse to be moved into accommodation. They say, I don't like this house that you've given me. I don't like this house. Right. Well, then there are calls now to just make them homeless. So maybe we should be doing that. There are, in a related note as well, several protests currently taking place outside a variety of different hotels across the country. Peaceful so far, as far as I'm aware. I will see you in 2. Take care. All right. Well done, guys.
Britain was once the envy of the world, but look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
You've read the headlines, you've heard what those in power have to say. How about now we actually get to the truth?
They would pay attention.
We go beyond the political theatre and tell you what's really going on behind the scenes. For a massive council tax hike, one of the biggest in the UK. Others follow their lines, but we go off script.
You sound like a broken record. You say that week after week.
Cutting through the narratives and giving you unique perspectives. That's Ben Leo tonight, Saturdays and Sundays from 9 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we are proud to stand for you, for the Britain you love, for the communities you live in. That's what makes us the fearless champions of Britain. Its voices and its values. Because we, at GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Thank you very much to our wonderful live studio audience. Thank you to you at home for bearing with us a little bit as well. We're fighting our way through the gremlins. I think we're doing a decent job of it. We will not be deterred. So, the Fruit and Nut Party, or Jezbollah, whatever anyone wants to call it. I don't know what it's going to be called. But we've got a new political party in Britain. It involves Jeremy Corbyn. It involves Zara Sultana. Does anyone know what it's called? No, because they haven't named it, have they? Although they did say that it was initially Your Party, but that turned out just to be a link to a website that was called Your Party. So everyone that was saying it was Your Party, they were wrong. They haven't named it yet. It's going to be carnage, isn't it? It's going to be absolute chaos. But there's a lady on the front row here who made a great point during that break, which is they are banging on now about how they've got 300,000 new members. And they're saying, oh, we've overtaken Reform and Nigel Farage. But if you want to become an actual member of Reform, it costs you some money, doesn't it? But it's free to get an email, which is what joining Jezbollah is. So they're not really members, are they? They're just inquisitive people who want to find out. It's a newsletter. They've started a relatively successful newsletter. That's what they've done. So there we are. But Bill, as our resident former Labour minister, stop!
They can't hear you.
They can't. Yeah, good. Yes, good. But don't take it to the next level and start swearing at him, please. But so, what do you make of this new party? Is it not a problem for Keir Starmer?
Well, at the margins, it's going to be a challenge. But look, let's be straight. Corbyn is an extremist who almost destroyed the Labour Party. You know, this is a man who talked about our friends in Hamas. This is the most sickening thing he did when he was leader of the Labour Party. If you recall the Salisbury poisoning. And he actually sided with Russia at that stage because of his historic links with the former Soviet Union. And, you know, at one level, this will just bring into reality what was there at the last general election when 5 independents on really sectarian extreme agendas were elected. And yeah, at the margins, that will be a challenge to the Labour Party, but I think the Labour Party's got to take it on. It will be measured on delivery, and I think come the general election, if they get 2% of the vote nationally, that will be the limit.
Really? Because currently they were polling at something like 12% without naming the party yet, or doing anything. So we'll have to wait and see. I mean, they're obviously trying to... They say as well, I'll bring you in on this Andrea, as a Reform mayor, they say that they are here to be the real opposition to Reform, in a way, which is... So do you see the likes of Iqbal Mohammed, who went into bat for cousin marriage, really knocking on Nigel Farage's door anytime soon?
No. I mean, look, I vehemently oppose everything like you do, what Corbyn stands for. I mean, to me, is Corbyn the terrorist hugger? But I think do not underestimate Corbyn, though. I was in Parliament when he was going for the Labour Party leadership, and it was all the Tories, actually, on the Conservative side, who was actually making him out to be the joke candidate. But look, he nearly beat Theresa May, and he took more votes than Starmer. And that's worrying. And the age 16 votes will be... Reform will benefit, but they'll benefit. But also, don't forget, I wonder what's going to happen to the cabinet next. People like Rayner fully supported Corbyn.
Yes.
Let's not forget.
No.
Starmer did at one
Yeah,
point as well,
exactly,
remember? And then
exactly.
suddenly now seems to have lost his number and deleted it from his book. He's got a few other numbers in his book that we won't mention. But I think that...
Mr. Ali.
one of them.
All right.
But I think...
We're in enough trouble tonight already. Carry on.
Still there again.
Yeah, we are. Come on.
I think firstly, I think more parties are a kind of good thing. I mean, I'm in favour of reform being around. I'm in favour of people having more choice. The interesting thing about what he's saying is that he wants the party to take on the rich and powerful because, yeah, they're not leaving already. Let's hammer them some more because people are leaving this country in their droves if they've got a bit of money. So a party that will potentially tax them even more, I think, would be a complete disaster. But then there's a part of me that thinks, well, hang on, taxing people, campaigning for redistribution of wealth, really sort of hammering the middle classes with tax. Well, will there be much difference towards the Labour Party we've got right now, actually?
Patrick, do you know that I nearly... I put a tweet out a couple of years ago about Corbyn, and he contacted me and threatened legal action if I didn't delete it. Why I call him a terrorist. I didn't delete it, of course.
Yes. OK, well, I imagine that would be because Jeremy Corbyn would deny in the strongest possible terms that he is indeed a terrorist. So it's important.
Terrorist lover, I think I called him.
Yeah, fine. Well, Jeremy Corbyn's not here to defend himself. Although there is that famous interview that he did with Piers Morgan where he was asked like 15 times if he could say Hamas were terrorists, and he did not say that, but that does not, of course, make himself a terrorist. Anyway, Miriam, how do you see the impact of this new party? Do you think it's an increase in sectarianism at all, or what do you make of it?
Yeah, quite possibly. I think it is a sign of the continuing fragmentation of British politics, which is going to be difficult to know how that's going to play out under first past the post. It's not so simple as it might be in other countries where 10% of the vote here, 15% of the vote there. But it's easy to laugh about Jeremy Corbyn and his politics and the people he hangs out with. But he is polling 10, 12%. We've already said that. There are people who like what he's saying. They are far less populists, and populists say popular things. And the truth is that there is some truth in what he's saying. You know, there are people who are disenfranchised in this country. There are big corporations who are exploiting people. There are young people particularly who think they're never going to get on the housing ladder, who think they're never going to have what previous generations are going to have. And those kind of people, those young people, are going to be tempted by this kind of politics. Of course they can't ever deliver what they're saying. We know that. But it is tempting. And that's why we should be worried and concerned about it. And very unsure about what's going to happen in the next election. I just think they're going to take a lot of votes of the Green Party, who have become a very far-left party. That might be the most likely thing to happen.
I think they're going to go for people like Wes Streeting, who's already got a wave-within majority. The latest I heard, and I don't think she's confirmed this, but Zara Sultana is thinking about standing against Shabana Mahmood, who is the Justice Minister. I think she'll probably win that.
But that could just fragment the vote even more. So if Wes Streeting has a Corbyn candidate... and a candidate from some community group and another candidate, it will, it becomes very unpredictable, but it doesn't make it less likely.
But does this not show that Labour has actually leftist left-wing roots, though? Because that's what they argue. They have no choice but to stand now for things like what they would class as social justice, because Labour is so far away from being Labour.
No, Jeremy Corbyn is a far-left Trotskyist. Right. He has been all his life, and he's been putting forward an agenda that the public don't support. Go back to the 2019 general election and asked... do you support this policy, that policy that was in Labour's manifesto? A lot of people said yes. When it was pulled together and Corbyn was behind it, people overwhelmingly rejected it. It doesn't add up. It lacks credibility. And when the crunch comes, I think that will win through.
I just want to pick up on one of the things that you said. You're right, we are sort of taking the mickey a little bit, but the right has a real problem at the moment that without capitalism, you need to have capital. And if you're young... you don't get that.
Good. All right. Well, what I'm enjoying, though, is seeing Sir Keir Starmer getting a kicking from both the right and the left. So that's good, isn't it? There we are. But we have got a fascinating topic for you when we come back. I'm really intrigued to get people's views on this. So new polling shows that half of Brits think that Islam is not compatible with British values, which is fascinating. I think the polling is actually 53%. So does that mean that 53% of Brits are genuinely Islamophobes, or do we just have a view about something that we've been silenced from having for quite a long time? I will see you in just a couple of minutes' time.
Good evening, this is your GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. Looking ahead to the weekend, and there will be some showers around, and some of these could turn a bit heavy, maybe even thundery for some of us, but there will also be some dry, warm weather around too. Currently though, we do have a weak front, making its way southeastwards across the UK, and this is bringing sort of three zones of weather. There's a cloudier zone running from northern England through Wales towards the southwest of England, and a few spots of drizzly rain here. Further northwest of this, there's a few clear spells around, but also some scattered showers across Scotland and Northern Ireland, and then in the southeast, something a bit drier, but some clear skies here. Temperatures aren't dropping a huge amount. It's a relatively warm start to the day tomorrow because we have quite high humidity, but with that, with the clear skies towards the southeast overnight, there could be some pockets of mist and fog first thing. These will quite quickly clear, and then we do see that front still continuing across some central areas, bringing some slightly more persistent rain for a time, but further north across parts of Scotland, Northern Ireland, it's those showers that are going to continue to pile their way in. Now, they are going to be quite scattered, so hit and miss. Not everywhere across Scotland and Northern Ireland will see those showers, but if you do catch one, some of them could be a little bit on the heavy side. Further south, and that swathe of rain that pushes its way eastwards could turn a bit more showery as we go into the afternoon, and that's when we could see some heavier, possibly even thundery bursts across parts of Lincolnshire into East Anglia, maybe the East Midlands as well. Temperatures for many tomorrow are going to be a little bit lower than today, but with some decent sunshine around, it's going to feel pretty warm. Temperatures peaking in the mid-20s. By Sunday, something a bit heavier, more persistent rain-wise is going to push into parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland. Elsewhere, there are again going to be a scattering of showers around, but they don't perhaps look quite as intense as the ones in the east on Saturday. And then as we go into the beginning of next week, high pressure may start to build from the south, so a quieter start, but more changeable weather to come.
This is Britain's newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys tonight, the very special live studio audience edition. Thank you very much, everybody who has come today. And in the next section, I'm going to do a whiz round of the people who've travelled the furthest to be here. And there's one winner. She's hiding, but there's one winner over there who I think is probably the winner to end all winners. But let's talk about this bombshell new polling that has emerged. Now, polling shows that half of Brits think that Islam is not compatible with British values, and 4 in 10 think that Muslim immigrants have a negative impact on the UK. Now, some people watching this might be saying, gosh, that's Islamophobic, isn't it? Other people might be thinking that Islamophobia is actually a made-up word and that this is just the views of ordinary people. The YouGov survey of more than 2,000 British adults, so it's, relatively large for a survey, asked people if they felt that different groups of immigrants by religion generally have a positive or negative impact on the UK. 41% said Muslim immigrants have a negative impact, yet just 15% felt this way about Hindus, 14% about Sikhs, 13% about Jews, and 7% about Christian immigrants. While 53% of Brits overall believe that Islam is not compatible with British values. So that really is quite stark, isn't it? I think it does beg the question, do we honestly believe that 53% of Brits are Islamophobic racists, or do we maybe think that they have a point? So, Andrea, do you think they have a point, these 53%?
I mean, first of all, I'd like to say that this would be probably one of the last times that we can talk openly like this when Rayner brings our Islamophobia bill through Parliament, which is worrying, isn't it, for free speech?
Well, the timing of it's interesting, by the way. Sorry to cut across you, but, if stuff like this comes out, you probably would want to silence it, wouldn't you?
Yeah. And, look, I mean,
I think the issue is, Patrick, Brits feel strangers in their own country now. And on top of that, we see the crime stats. I mean, look, I'll give an example. When I was in Parliament, I stood up in the chamber and I demanded to see crime stats per nationality, because you need to see if we're importing criminals. And I got booed by the Labour Party, the Green Party and the Lib Dems. And that shows you how out of touch politicians are. But look, to me, it's the way we see it quite often in headline newspapers. It's obviously not all Muslims, but... way they treat women. We've seen these horrible cases recently with that young child, that girl, and the man and woman, the father and stepmother went over to Pakistan. They'd beat the girl to death. Yeah. So these headline stories is actually playing into this. And it's the honour killings. This.
Well, the grooming gangs was the
grooming
thing.
gangs
and
as well.
I think one of the issues with that, and in the break was talking, we were asking some people just to give their points, because obviously it's a slightly different audience show tonight, unfortunately, but we're still trying to get those views across. So we're raising questions about attitudes, not just towards women, but towards girls, really, actually. And the evidence there, I suppose, would be there in a lot of the demographics when it came to the grooming gang. So is that a problem? Miriam, I'm going to ask you to talk loudly, if that's OK. So what do you think of the results here, then? 53% of Britons say that they believe Islam is not compatible with British values.
Well, I think it's very interesting. I think it's about time that we had this discussion, because for so long we've been told by the establishment that diversity is our strength, that multiculturalism is a good thing. But it isn't. That experiment's failed. The whole point of a nation is to have a shared history, a shared culture and a shared religion. And it's those things that bind people together. Now, of course, that doesn't mean there can't be differences of opinion, people with a religion, without a religion, of course. But the idea is that there are unifying forces that we can share. That's what makes us a nation. And when such a significant number of people don't share that history, culture, religion, we are starting to see the cracks. So that's the first point. The second point is, I think it's really important to differentiate between Islam, the religion, and what the Quran says, and Muslims. There are millions of Muslims who are peaceful, people who have assimilated and integrated and are making a positive contribution to society. But Islam, the religion, does pose significant issues in its compatibility with Western culture, which is built on the Christian religion, which is very, very different in its approach. And I think we need to be honest about that. And for so long in Britain, we've taken for granted the idea of freedom of religion, because our freedom of religion laws are based on the differences between two very similar versions of the same religion, Protestantism and Catholicism. That's where our freedom of religion comes from. But those laws were not built for such extraordinarily different...
Look, I agree with you, but I think it also goes further than that. I believe when in Rome, do as the Romans do. It's about integrating in your country. Yeah.
But my point is that people who follow Islam to the letter, and that isn't all Muslims. So there are lots of people who are culturally Muslim but don't know the Quran, just like there are millions of people who are culturally Christian and don't know the Bible. But then my point is, Islam, the religion, is not compatible with Western culture.
Let me just say, Bill, to you first, then we'll do Christo. The figures here tell quite an interesting story, because if Brits, they have 41% of them have a negative, say that Muslims have had a negative impact on Britain, 41%. But 14% say that about the Sikhs, 13% say that about the Jews. It would imply, I think, that many Brits feel as though huge chunks of the Muslim community don't want to integrate.
And there's a kernel of truth underneath that I think we do need to explore. Look, I mean, I do not believe that the vast majority of Muslim people do not support British values and do not support British society. But I think there is a problem with faith, and in a sense, Islam hasn't had its reformation in the way that Christianity has. And what I mean by that is that Islam, the faith, plays an all-pervasive role in the lives of adherents.
Before the Reformation, that somehow Christianity was a religion of violence. That's not to say there haven't been wars of religion. But Christianity is not a violent religion.
Well, so we go back in history, and that's absolutely the case. But the point I'm making is that I think, in a sense, Islam needs to modernise, and the key issue is integration. And I find the poll really interesting because it differentiates between Muslims and Hindus and Sikhs. And in my experience, the propensity to integrate within communities is much greater amongst Hindus and Sikhs than it is amongst...
There's a further issue as well, though, sorry. You cannot criticise Islam. That's the issue. And I mean, I'm a Christian. You know, but people's got a right to question my Christianity and their religion, but. You can't.
This is an important point, actually, and I think, you know, when we look at this now, if we had a new Islamophobia definition, as Andrea rightly said, there is a good chance that we would not be able to have this discussion on the show. When at times there was a report that was published about, well, largely about me, actually, in the things that it identified as times I'd been Islamophobic, I was talking about, like, actual rape gangs or actual terror attacks that happened to have been committed by people who at least identified as Muslim, right? Well, if that's Islamophobia, then we might as well pack up and go home, hadn't we, Christy?
And it's also conflating a criticism of Islam with race, which actually is not the case. You should be able to criticise someone's faith and have nothing to do with what ethnicity.
Well, look at the Batley school teacher. That was my neighbouring constituency.
Absolutely. And it is the Berkeley school teacher. Yeah. It is grooming gangs that choose white girls based on their race who are of the Islamic faith. It is all of those sorts of things. It's the full face covering, the niqab. It's all of those things that I think that people say are not compatible. And also I think it's the growth of Islam as well, because this survey points out that the Islamic number of Muslims in this country has grown by 150% in 20 years.
Because we're all coming all over on boats, isn't it?
Yeah, a large demographic. Yeah. All right, guys. OK, loads more to come. We have got the latest crime stats for you, as if you weren't depressed enough this evening. We've got the latest crime stats for you. And if you want to, you can pick up your stab-proof vest emblazoned with GB News on the way out. So, all right. OK, we'll go now, and I'll see you in a sec.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello, everyone. Patrick Christys here.
I'm Michelle Dew, Britain's News Channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's News Channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back, everybody. It's my wonderful live studio audience. Just We've got a lovely couple in from Chester, so thank you very much. Go from Chester, yeah. Someone has made the journey all the way from Doha, so congratulations to you. We've got Devon as well, and Knutsford, and so, yeah, so people from all over. Sheffield, we've got Sheffield as well. Right, hey, fantastic. So why aren't you here? Hey? What's your excuse? Anyway, let's whiz ourselves on to the latest story. We've got new crime stats, and we keep being told by some people, Fraser Nelson, who used to work at The Spectator, but has now made the move to Channel 4, that crime stats are going down, and actually, we shouldn't believe what we can see and feel for ourselves. Well, actually, now there are nearly 3 thefts a minute being reported by shops. Britain's witnessing a growing shoplifting epidemic. Shoplifting hit a record high of more than 530,000 offences to police in the year to March. I mean, we've got all sorts here. Theft from a person remains at record levels, up 15% from the previous 12 months. Knife crime recorded by forces fell, they say, by 1% year on year. I'm sorry, I don't think I believe that, given the fact that we see all that. Crime epidemic, Christo.
Well...
Yes.
May I just say, I've got this microphone now, may I just say, hello, Paddington!
This is about to be a crime, anyway.
No, I think the social contract has broken. That's what's happened now. And people, the more that there is no consequence, the more people think that they can just basically get away with it. And it's not just crime, it's those petty crimes that we're seeing, like shoplifting, but it's things like rubbish on the streets, it's things like antisocial cycling, it's all those things that people just get away with now, and the more they see it, the more they get away with it. And what I find so frustrating about this country is that we don't actually go to the root of the problem or do a proper deterrent. When we see all of this crime like shoplifting, what do? We say, oh, let's put the meat in a box that you've got to, you know, get unlocked instead, or we'll put it behind railings rather than actually, or, you know, there might be the problem of a terror offence. I mean, this is more extreme, and we put bollards up rather than trying to get to the root of terror. So we really do the symptom.
What I'm going to ask you to do, Christo, is I'm asking you to go and rove around the audience with that microphone and find someone who wants to make a point about crime stats. You know, how do you feel out there? There's a chap who's got his hand straight up at the back. He's got his own. So in the meantime, Bill, do you think? I mean, this is pretty damning, because it's also about I'm sure people aren't reporting crimes in the way that they used to as well.
Well, look. Overall, crime levels have fallen since the mid-2000s by about 1.5 million, but there are exceptions. Knife crime has gone up significantly since the mid-2000s.
Yes.
And shoplifting, I think the latest figures are a real concern. And it's not a victimless crime. We all pay in increased prices for shoplifting. I think the last government gave a green light by decriminalising shoplifting below a level of £200. That, frankly, encouraged it. That has been changed by the current government, and there's now going to be a blitz on shoplifting in 500 communities during the summer. I think that is
I'll believe it when I see it. But Christo's at the back with a...
Yes, we've got David here who has a point to make about this. What's your point, David?
My question for the panel is, do you think the approach that Giuliano took in New York has any advantages that could be applied to the UK? Certainly, I think we heard Nigel Farage talking about it during the week, and I'd just be interested on the panel's view on that.
Good question, sir. Well done. First of all, one of the night as well. Only stuck us an hour. Andrea and then Miriam.
Look, when I got elected as mayor, I want to get the Police and Crime Commissioner powers, because, you know, I loved Rudy Giuliani, and that broken window theory, no crime is too small to go unpunished. And, I mean, it's other things as well. I mean, the two-tier justice system we're seeing, which is playing into it. We're seeing, you know, young... more sexual assaults on young people, and people just don't feel safe. And like you said, it didn't help with the Conservatives giving £200 worth of free stuff to shoplifters.
Well, yes, a bit to come back on that, Miriam. What do you make of these figures? What do you make about crime in general in Britain and the attitude towards it?
Well, I think the policy of not punishing until the umpteenth offence is disastrous. We've heard reports of some people who've been convicted of 40 or even 50 offences before they're put behind bars. And that's a false economy. Really, what you want people is to feel that short, sharp shock the first time they offend, so that they're tempted not to do it again. It's exactly the same as raising children. You don't wait till your toddler's stolen the 50th biscuit before you punish them. You know, you do it the first time so that they get an instant feedback, you know. Otherwise, by the 50th they've basically signed up to a life of crime, haven't they?
And they're fat as well.
And they're fat. So, instant justice. Now, we've got huge problems in the courts with delays and everything. That's absolutely true. But instant justice is what we've asked for. It was what we're looking for. But I looked at the stats in some other comparable countries, and actually, this is a problem across the Western world. In France, shoplifting's hit record high. In Germany, shoplifting's hit record high. I wondered, is this to do with immigration? Because obviously France and Germany have got significant levels of immigration as we do. But even in Denmark, shoplifting is 60% up in 2 years, and they don't have high levels of immigration. So there's something happened in COVID that broke the social contract, that reduced people's sense of personal responsibility to themselves and to each other. So I think there's a much deeper problem going. I think policing's a problem. I think the courts are a problem.
Can I give a quick shout-out, very quick, sorry about this, but I feel like I need to. Can I give a very quick shout-out to the police? Now, I have given police some stick at times and all of this stuff, but if you have rapid levels of immigration and rapid levels of population increase and you do not increase your police force in line with that, ultimately, what do you expect to happen? So, you know, sometimes when the police...
But my point, Patrick, is that's not what's happened in Denmark. They don't have... So something... I'm not saying those things aren't factors. They clearly are. But something else is going on in the Western world that's reducing this sense of common duty about what are our responsibilities towards each other and towards society.
And I think there may be a kernel of truth there in terms of what COVID did to society and the way that we've responded since then. But the question about, you know, should we go down the path of Rudolph Giuliani and the zero-tolerance approach, I think arguably we should. Actually, look in Manchester, where the Chief Constable is pursuing that approach with the support of Andy Burnham, and it's having an impact. And one of the problems we've got with policing in this country is 43 different police forces, all with extra costs, all pursuing different agendas.
OK, fine. Right, guys, we're very nearly at the end of this hour. Thank you very much, everyone who's been bearing with us. We've got a lot more coming your way. We're having a look at a new rule that might see if an asylum seeker decides that he and his family don't quite like the house that we're all paying for and they want to move, we just say, no, you can be homeless instead. We're also having a look at some of the asylum seeker hotel protests that are happening right now.
It's the final week to see how you can win big, as there's an incredible £54,321 in tax-free cash to be won. What would you spend it on? The holiday of a lifetime? Or just sit back, relax and remove some of those day-to-day financial stresses? Lines close on the 1st of August, so make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
And
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
A little bit mad, hasn't it? But thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. We have got loads on this hour, though. So asylum seekers are being threatened with homelessness if they refuse accommodation that we're giving them. Do you think that's fair enough? Is it all right with that, are we, generally? Yeah? No, or no, because then I suppose then they're out on the streets and what could happen there? Well, we'll talk about that. There are also a series of protests outside asylum seeker hotels happening right now as we speak. We've got some in Ashfield, Southampton and Southsea as well, to name just 3 of them. Something is happening out there, I think, at the moment, isn't it? A genie has come out the bottle. I hope that they all remain peaceful. I'm pretty sure they will all remain peaceful. But the point here is now I think no one is willing to just be shut up and called far right anymore and hope we all go away. I don't think people want that. We're also talking about... Oh, this is good. So Rachel Reeves has been told that she needs to do one of 3 things, right? So she needs to either raise taxes, make people pay for the NHS, or I think, what was the other one? I can't remember now. She's been made to do loads of things. But we're going to ask you which one it is that you would rather do. Yes, triple lock, sir. Well done. So, get rid of the triple lock. So I'm going to ask you guys which one you think she should do, or which one would you be willing to do. And President Trump has arrived. We've got footage of his arrival, and we've got a special thing as well, because our very own Bev Turner was on Air Force One. Yes. Wow. Very own Bev Turner was on Air Force One and has done an interview with the President of the United States. So we're going to be hearing a little bit about that. I've got a wonderful panel lined up tonight. We've got GB News presenter, former Tory MP Miriam Cates. Broadcasting royalty Christo Fufa. We have got Reform stalwart Andrea Jenkins. Labour Minister Bill Ramos. OK, I'm going to come and sit down here now, and I think we'll start with the asylum seeker hotel issue. So we are now seeing various different protests taking place around the country. Has anyone been to one of these protests here? No? Would you protest a migrant hotel in your area? Yeah, people would. OK, well, we'll get some audience views in a second. I'm going to dispatch Christo. You go out now, Christo. Dispatch.
All right. That's it. You're dismissing me.
All right. Andrea, what do you make of these protests that are currently taking place in places that we've had them in Epping, we've got them in Ashfield, we've got them in Southampton, we've got them in Southsea? What do you feel about it?
No, I don't blame them. You know, it's every British person in the country have had enough. You know, we are soft-touch Britain. We've got the boat people gaming the system. And we should not be putting people in hotels in the first place. We should be sending them back. And if that can't happen in the interim, we should be putting them in tents, as I said. But the fact is, people don't feel safe on their street, Patrick. And people's had enough. I don't blame them protesting. Yes, I agree, we can't have...
violence and disorder.
We can't have violence and disorder. It plays into the BBC narrative, etc.
This is it. And
but peaceful protests,
Rob.
Fabulous.
I would say, because we're going to go to a question in the audience in a second. I just want to make one thing very clear, which is, and I'm telling you this, the establishment media are desperate.
Oh, they are.
Desperate for it to kick off so that they can call people far right and racist and go to silence it. They are desperate for that to happen. So it is now incumbent on people who do have strong views about women's safety, the safety of girls, about maybe where your tax money is being spent, and just generally feel as though you don't particularly want that hotel in your area, that if you do decide to go and protest, please do keep it peaceful. There's a gentleman here with a GB News cap on. Fantastic.
Will you stand up, please? This is Rob. He's got a point to make. What would you like to say, Rob?
Go on, Rob.
Right, as regards these immigrants, we're too soft with them. It's quite simple. Solution that benefits all parties. Most of these people are illegal. They'll have the argument you don't know till you find out. It's simple. all the immigrants that come in go into a military unit which is empty.
This is the small boat people you talk about.
Small boat people, immigrant people, they come
Yeah.
in, they go to be assessed in a military unit, or if there's not room in a military unit, you have marquees a bit long, like Dame Andrea said, and you put them in there. You assess them, you vet them, you also, conformity, put them all, because they're coming here against the law, in a uniform, exactly the same, so they all think the same, and they're all on the same ship. And what they do, the people that are legal, that can prove they're genuine people, when they've been vetted, they get let out into the real world. Then you won't have this process because the establishment has already vetted them. At the minute, the ones that don't get through it, then you've got to decide what you're going to do with them.
And this is would people largely agree with that? Do you think? I mean, what would you say to the idea now that there seems to be a bit of a genie out the bottle moment, Miriam? I know that we've had all these talk of like, oh, we're going to get a summer of riots, and that's being whipped up by people, but. Well, it does feel as though people are now coming out in numbers, doesn't it?
Well, it is a truly dreadful situation. I mean, over the last few decades, we've worked incredibly hard in this country, politically, legally, culturally, to reduce violence against women and girls. That's been the guiding light of several successive governments. And yet now we're in this situation where unvetted young men, who may be criminals in their own country, we have no idea, are in these hotels, often near schools, and have been caught doing really, really unspeakable things. And women and girls are not safe, and that's a genuine fear. And so, you know, I'm fully supportive, particularly of the mothers in Epping who are organising and saying our children are not safe. They said that to GB News yesterday. The question is, we are in this place, what do we do about it? I don't think making them homeless is a good idea at all, because we know how poor the Home Office is at tracking people even when they are in places of fixed abode. Goodness knows what would happen if not. And unfortunately, the hotel system or the housing in the community is acting as a pull factor for people to come here illegally. So, of course, the long-term answer is stop the boats. But we need some sort of short-term solution, which is some sort of camp or internment centre where people are kept cheaply but safely until they can be processed. I don't think there's any other option.
We'll go to this gentleman and then Bill, and then Christo. I think once you've done that, we might relieve you of your microphone duty so you can get involved as well. So
Thank you. So this is Sam. Sam, do you want to stand up for us?
Go on, Sam, take it away.
So my question to the panel is, how have the government got to a point now where it's effectively no compliance, no support? This is very much where we should be with these people, because if they're refusing to leave these hotels or if they're making themselves homeless, the people who are within our local towns are homeless, are veterans who are not getting this support, and they're definitely not getting the opportunity to know whether they're going to be leaving these accommodations. So how comes the government is not focusing on our local people and giving us, or giving the people of Britain, the opportunity to be able to use these services first and the money that's coming in?
There's a great point in there as well, which is that I think there was a lady here. Do you stop by the Britannia Hotel earlier on in Canary Wharf, right? In fact, well, could we just move the microphone that way? Is that right? Yeah. Because to your point there, there was a lady who lived in that area around Canary Wharf who said she'd been technically homeless for 19 years and had 4 kids and been moved around from pillar to post. And there's a whopping great big hotel there that all of a sudden, for people who've just arrived here, you can buy that. £500,000 a fortnight is going to cost the taxpayer to fill all those rooms. Why can't we give rooms to veterans and homeless instead? Bill, can I ask you to come back on that point? Why are we prioritising other people over our own homeless?
I don't think we are, but look, you know, hold on. Picking up Miriam's point that you create detention centres across the country, and every area that you tried to do that, there would be massive opposition to it, and MPs would be leading that opposition. Look, the Bell Hotel in Epping is about 5 miles from my house, and it really concerns me what is happening. And I think the vast majority of people who are demonstrating are doing it for good and reasonable reasons, but there are a core of people, Patrick, who are far right. There's a neo-Nazi group that's been agitating in Epping Forest, and they're not doing it for good reasons. What we need to do is plug all the gaps, which the government is trying to do, but this will take time. The proposal around dispersing people from hotels into cheaper accommodation, I think, is the right approach. But, you know, this will take time to reduce the numbers.
But why should they get accommodation, housing, let's be honest, it's housing that is in such desperately short supply in this country when British people, as we've mentioned, don't have access to that housing. Now, we absolutely must treat everybody who arrives here humanely, even if they're here illegally. Of course we should. We respect human rights. But nevertheless, these are adults who have chosen to make the journey to this country, a dangerous journey. It's their responsibility if they end up living in a camp. That's their choice.
I'll be really honest, having had a recent experience in some of those camps, I did not, I'll be honest, I did not see a huge amount of victims there being trafficked against their will. There were people there who wanted to come across and people willing to provide that service. There is a lady on the front row here. Hello. What would you like to say on this very issue, please?
Basically, we went down to Canary Wharf today and spoke to some of the people protesting there because they're moving them out of Epping and moving them to the Britannia
well, I think
hotel.
they've denied that. This is the thing. That was the rumour, wasn't it? But I think they've denied it.
They have denied it, but the residents we spoke to say it is happening.
OK.
And they said they're also being given free bikes and everything there. And basically, they say, and like, you're moving the problem to another place. And the community, which is a very diverse community, you're talking about Tower Hamlet, Canary Wharf, and they were saying, like, the people there have integrated, but these people moving in, they're unaccounted for, they don't know who they're going to be, and they're literally moving them from one place to another, and they really do fear for the safety of their children.
Yes, and I think that's the key point. Look, again, I fully support your scepticism of anything we are told sometimes by the authorities. I'm at pains to say the Home Office have said... The Home Office... Oh, I need to say this, Bill, sorry. The Home Office have said that they are not moving anyone from Epping there and that at the moment it's going to be... So at the moment it's empty. This is the technicality they're going to say, right? At the moment, no migrants are housed there. Right, well, fine, but, you know, ultimately they're taking it over for some kind of overflow centre on that. So, again, it's a question of
Patrick,
safety.
if you're going to be sceptical about the claims from the government, you've also got to be sceptical about some of the completely dishonest claims that are being put out on social media. There was a claim, and my understanding is that there is an intention to move migrants there eventually, not at the moment. But the claim on social media is the cost of that hotel is £486 per night. It's actually going to be £81
yeah, but even
per
with
night.
that, Bill, even with that, if it was full, even with that, Bill, if it was full, it's £500,000 a fortnight, apparently. Even with the £81 a night discount.
Yeah, and what you've got to do is increase the processing of asylum seekers. You've got to do deals with France, which we have done, to intervene in shallow waters, to stop...
You just stop giving them free stuff.
Let's hear from...
Why didn't you do that in 14 years in government?
I was calling for it. Look, how many times?
Also,
I was critical of the Conservative government.
I don't think that people are just angry about the cost of the hotel if it's the difference between it being £400 or £80 a night. I know someone who has... Something is happening with that hotel. I accept what you're saying, that the Home Office are denying that it's going to be full with asylum seekers, but you can't book it for the next few months. And also, so something's going on. I know someone who owns a flat opposite that hotel, and they're trying to rent it out. And normally in London, you'll find that rents are very, very high, and it's very, very competitive. They've been given an offer under half of what it was advertised for.
It's motorway hotels as well.
Yeah, because
I was tired coming out of London. I was trying to book, and even up to as far as Nottinghamshire, I couldn't book a hotel. You know, I pulled up at the services trying to book, and I couldn't find a hotel for one room.
Why aren't we thinking along the lines of Nightingale Hotel? Nightingale, I don't understand why. We built those
Where would you locate them?
Well, what
would the opposition be?
You would have to find somewhere to locate them. We would surely be able to think along those lines.
The government does have the power to do that if they use primary legislation. It wouldn't be popular with MPs, that is true, but the government does have the power to do that on government land.
And my point is that wherever you located those mass detention centres, you'd have massive public outcry, just as you're seeing now.
Why can't they be on army bases? Why can't they be on army bases? Why can't they be on enclosed army bases?
And my understanding is that some of the army bases that had been identified are going to be effectively detention centres. But this is not an easy problem that you can just click your fingers and resolve.
We built the Nightingale hotels within a week or two, and they stayed empty. I mean, surely we can think along those lines.
I also think if the argument for this is like, oh gosh, wherever you put them, there'd be massive public outrage. Well, maybe the solution is to just stop it then.
Yeah, exactly. Don't put them anywhere.
If people are totally out, deportations bill, you're tinkering around the edges, you're getting the French to slush some boats in the water, which they're just not doing. They're not even put a fence up between the main camp and the beach. Then we're saying that the Germans are going to decide to get rid of the warehouses full of these boats that they've always known where they were, but because of Brexit, despite the fact that we saved them from Hitler, they couldn't save us from these migrant boats. I'm sorry, but people don't bang on about that enough. We've done rather a lot for the Germans over the years.
Absolutely.
And because we voted to leave the EU, they decided that they would flood us with these dinghies and these boats. It doesn't matter what you do, as long as you're not deporting anyone, it's going to keep happening.
Well, deportations are increasing. But I tell you this, I was a member of the last Labour government.
Hold on. Let him talk.
I was a member of the last Labour government, and we cut asylum seeker numbers from 100,000 to 20,000 by the time we left office. But it took 5 years. And any politician who tells you that this problem can be cracked just like that overnight is lying.
Can I just make one more? I just want to make one more really quick point. Firstly, any public or local protests there might be to any kind of Nightingale-type asylum areas, well, are they going to be worse than what's happening now? People are angry as we speak. But secondly, one other final point. I think that Britain becomes a victim of its kindness, and we are a really kind nation. I guarantee you, right, if those hotels or areas were full of women and children, people would be saying, OK, it's annoying we have to pay for them, but we understand that these are genuine people. These are hotels full of men, and that's why people are so cynical about it.
Exactly.
Go on, Miriam.
I think the other problem, the political one, and I'm not... I don't want to put this on you, Bill, as the only Labour representative here, but is the government saying things like, we're deporting more people, we're smashing the gangs, when actually the truth is that forced deportations are going down, voluntary ones are up, but who cares about that, quite frankly? Forced deportations are down, and there's no point smashing a gangs because as long as you've got
but we're giving them money to leave.
As long as you've got a business model, more gangs will spring up. So these are just words. And I don't want to pull that on you, Bill, because the whole government is saying that these are just words. Nothing is happening, and the problem is getting worse. And the public can see that because the public can read a graph.
But Miriam, it's not true that nothing's happening. There's a huge increase in the number of raids on illegal working to target some of these people.
But the numbers are still going up, Bill, and that's the problem. The numbers of people crossing on small boats, because, as has already been said, the only true deterrent is for people to know before they leave France that if they come here, they will be detained and deported rapidly. That's the only deterrent.
So what about the kind... OK, sorry. So what about the kind of... Yeah, fine. So what about the kind of new angles that we had today, which is that asylum seekers who refuse to be relocated, so whether it's from a hotel or whether it's from whatever accommodation they've got at the moment...
Put them on a plane,
So you'd go... Send them to Gatwick. So so we're getting some stuff here, so send them to Gatwick, and yeah...
That's a punishment.
All right. Sorry to anyone who's living in Gatwick at the moment who's watching this. It's about to get a lot busy around your way. Yeah, send them to Gatwick or do whatever, or yeah, get them off.
Or we could build Trump's wall around Britain, eh?
Trump's wall around Britain. We'll talk about that. So because there are downsides of some of these people being made homeless. Clearly, which is that
tents. We'd end up with more tents like we had on Park Lane in London. And how could it be right that you've got more phone numbers of gang members who are sending people than the government? You managed to get more of them.
Yeah, well, yes, indeed. Sorry, just very quickly, Christy, we're going to give the mic to this lady, and then we will. I promise you, we will go to that break. But I want to hear what this lady's got to say on the front row.
Is there any chance that France will ever work with us on this? By the way, Patrick, your reporting in Calais was intelligent and very brave, very brave. But those people in those places, you know, living terrible lives, can't they be processed there with the cooperation of the French government, given choices? You can go home, you can stay in France, you can come to Britain if you have the right paperwork.
I mean, to answer your question directly, yes, and that was the agreement that was struck a couple of weeks ago, and the French government is changing the law so that the authorities do intervene in shallow waters and so that they start to take returns.
Yeah, all right. Well, let's just say, firstly, thank you very much for saying that. And just on the Calais stuff, very quickly, I would just like to say, I know some of the footage I was a bit paranoid about because I thought it looked like I was just kind of bumbling around these places, but because the atmosphere was so different to the last time, I realised we had to get everything in one take. Last time I could stand around a bit and be like, oh, let's reshoot this or let's cut this. So it was all a little bit manic, but we got out alive. We got out alive, so it was that was good. But hey, there was a lot to discuss there. That the vibe has changed in Calais, hasn't it? I think it's fair to say.
French police
He's asking how many French police I saw over there. Well, I did hand some stuff into a French police station at one point, but that was it. Yes, I went to them. I didn't. I didn't see any police really. No, I didn't. Right. Thank you very much. Sorry, we are way over now. My fault entirely. But yeah, loads more. When we come back, we're going to be hearing from the President of the United States of America. So, now though, it's the Great British Giveaway. When everything else failed tonight, don't you worry, we've still got the chance to flog you this. 54,321 quid in tax-free cash. You've got to be in it to win it.
It's the final week to see how you could win big. It's our biggest cash prize to date, an incredible £54,321 in tax-free cash has to be won. What would you do with that? With all of that cash, you could just chill out, treat yourself and indulge in the finer things in life, somewhere like here, Downhall Hotel and Spa. You really could win the cash giveaway of the summer. Make sure you don't miss out on our biggest cash giveaway to date.
For another chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
I've got something very special for you when we come back. Our very own Bev Turner has been on Air Force One, or Trump Force One as it's called now, with the President of the United States. He's touched down in Britain. He's spoken a lot about free speech in Britain. Apparently he's very worried about that. And the migrant crisis in Europe. I've got some fantastic footage from Bev Turner to play for you very shortly. Stay tuned.
You've read the headlines, you've heard what those in power have to say. How about now we actually get to the truth?
They would pay attention.
We go beyond the political theatre and tell you what's really going on behind the scenes. For a massive council tax hike, one of the biggest in the UK. Others follow their lines, but we go off script.
You sound like a broken record, you say that week after week.
Cutting through the narratives and giving you unique perspectives. That's Ben Leo tonight, Saturdays and Sundays from 9 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
What stresses you out the most?
Oh, stupid people. Yeah, stupid people. Actually, I'm convinced the world is full of stupid people.
Right, OK.
All right, so stupid people...
Why are you looking at me? Why are you looking at me?
I actually wouldn't look at you, mate. You're a smart person. But no, honestly, if you were in my life, particularly when you rely on people to do things for you and they just can't see the obvious thing to do.
Oh, no.
Yeah. But you have to be very grateful that they are doing things for you.
Yeah, that's...
Ellie, for me, it depends on the mood I'm in. Because if little things happen and I'm not in the right mood, then everything drives me crazy.
Now, that is a very good point. So, micro-stresses.
Is that what it is?
But according to the Daily Mail this morning, 89% of Britons are finding the small stresses is exhausting them the most.
Yeah.
Things like being stuck in traffic.
Yes.
Hate that. The bin bag breaking.
I actually don't mind being stuck in traffic.
No, I do. I find it...
That's OK.
Great on my soul.
Unless it's late, I'm late for something. Although I was stuck for about 3 hours trying to get home yesterday.
Oh, no.
Yeah, but you see, I don't think those are micro-stresses. I think they're major stresses.
Full-on stresses.
That's what the study says,
so listen, don't pass them off as, oh, it's only just stuck in traffic. That's a major thing.
OK,
yeah.
that's major stress. OK.
Yeah.
It says sometimes it triggers the same exhaustion as a single major life event. If you have lots of these in a day. So bin bag breaking is you taking it out, losing your keys.
That's a major one.
Yeah.
That's major for me.
People who walk slowly, that is so irritating. Forgetting to charge your phone overnight, forgetting to put the bins out, not being able to find an outfit.
You know what I really hate? Really, really grinds my gears?
What?
Is when I either let someone out, and when I'm in the car, I let someone out, and they don't say thanks, or I stop and let them cross over and they don't go...
That's irritating.
Then I go...
Well, I tend to agree with you, Paul.
GB News, the People's Channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Patrick Christys tonight, late edition. It's been a heck of a week, hasn't it? So there we go. Now, our very own Bev Turner has been on Trump Force One, but let me read out to you what's been going on. So US President Donald Trump has landed now in Scotland, and he visits the country to open a new golf course and meet with Sir Keir Starmer. So he's meeting Sir Keir Starmer on his own terms, isn't he? Saying you want to come to... Imagine if they had a round of golf together. Anyway, First Minister John Swinney said Scotland will have a platform to make its voice heard during the visit. Oh, jog on, John. And then he's adding that the country has an opportunity to respectfully demonstrate the principles of freedom and justice for all and promote Scotland's economic investment potential. Those two things are incompatible, aren't they? We're going to come here and we're going to scream profanities at the United States of America's president, but also show that if you want to invest here, then that's absolutely fine. Anyway, we sent our very own Bev Turner to ask the president what he thinks of what's going on in Britain, and we've got some responses. Bev asked the president what he thought of the state of free speech in Britain. His answer was diplomatically complimentary of Keir Starmer. He said, I like your Prime Minister. He's slightly more liberal than I am, but he's a good man. He went on to laud progress made on the UK-US trade deal, reconfirmed that he will meet Keir Starmer during his visit. Then he was asked about illegal immigration. He's managed to sort the problem, really, in America, hasn't he? So what does he think of what's going on here? His response was very clear. He said that immigration is killing Europe. That was his response. He said, you'd better get your act together. You're not going to have Europe anymore. That's what President Trump has said. Strong words from the president. You're going to be able to watch clips of this all day tomorrow on GB News and throughout the course of the day. So there we go. Andrea, your take on the things that we've just had quoted by President Trump there, specifically, really, on the, I suppose, on the immigration stuff, really, there.
No, I still like Trump. And I thought the way the last Parliament and the Speaker, it was abhorrent the way they wouldn't even allow him to come to Parliament, would they? Yeah. So, look, it is spot on. Look, it is ruining Europe. It's ruining our country. Everywhere you look, and we've got to stop being soft-touch Britain.
Well,
simple as that.
Oh, we'll watch it on the screen.
Ah, brilliant.
This was Air Force One takeoff earlier today. Now, Bev Turner's on that plane. Well, she was, anyway.
That's amazing.
I can't wait to hear about her time on Air Force One.
I hope she's got a souvenir, like some loo roll or something.
She nicked something.
We need him in here, Patrick, don't we?
Oh, we need... Yeah, I can't help but wonder what you'd nick from Air Force One. I think, yeah, it'd be great.
Like some of Melania's shoes.
Some of Melania's shoes. Yes, they might get you for that, I think. Do we have any Trump fans in here? No, people, large Trump fans. Do we have any people who hate Trump? People who are... Well, OK, fair enough. Some people are on the fence about Trump. Miriam, what do you make of these people like John Swinney saying, we're going to have a voice to make our feelings clear about President Trump?
I mean, I think he's just trying to make himself relevant, isn't he? I mean, Trump's coming to his country. He wants to say something. He's the national leader. Obviously, his politics are very, very different to Trump, so he's trying to make this balancing act between not annoying his supporters but also not creating a diplomatic incident. So what else is he going to say? But I think the whole situation is really interesting about Trump commenting on what's happening in Europe. And we saw this with J.D. Vance earlier in the year, his conference to the Munich security gathering, where he heavily criticised European approach to migration and, again, warned us that we were approaching the end of European civilization. And I think it's easy to be proud and say, why are these people commenting on our continent, on our country? What's it got to do with them? They should sort out their own country. But on the other hand, There is this affinity between Western civilization, between the countries of Europe and America. We do have a shared heritage, and I think it's really important, actually, that someone from outside the situation can comment on what's going on and try to call European leaders to account. They won't hear it, and they probably won't do anything about it, but I think it's important that it's said. And particularly, I mean, I like Trump. I think he's a fascinating character, but I particularly am impressed by J.D. Vance and his insight into what's happening in this civilizational moment, and I think we should listen.
OK. Bill, how do you feel about some of Trump's comments there? I mean, you must be pleased about what he said about Keir Starmer. He says he likes him.
Yeah, look, you know, the Vance intervention, and Trump has done it as well, about free speech in this country, is utterly hypocritical. You know, there are journalists who are being refused access to the White House in America because they don't toe Trump's line. You know, a French,
they've just got an agenda there,
a French
haven't they?
academic turns up with a visa, and because he's got comments critical of Trump, he's turned away at an airport. You know, this is not a government that is a bastion of free speech. And I think there are all sorts of concerns about the Trump administration. However, he is the leader of the largest country in the world. We have to work with him. And to his credit, Keir Starmer has developed a working relationship with him. And there are well, that's what Trump actually acknowledges. And actually, we probably got, even though the tariff agenda from Trump, in my view, is misguided and appalling, we probably got the best deal in the world because of that relationship.
Is that to Keir Starmer's credit, or is it actually to President Trump's credit? Because President Trump has had to ignore the fact that the Foreign Secretary has called him a neo-Nazi sympathising woman hater. And previously being slagged off by pretty much everyone in the Labour Party. The London mayor, who happens to be a Labour...
But J.D. Vance said similar things. I mean, Trump can't be too picky in terms of what people have said in the past. But I think Peter Mandelson was a genius appointment. You know, and people were very critical of him at the time. He obviously, he's got his enemies, certainly in this country. But he's someone who knows how to play the room and knows how to play that relationship. And whether you like that kind of Machiavellian agenda or not, he has played a very important role here in building bridges between Labour and...
It's diplomacy in this country's national interest. And, yeah, absolutely, Mandelson has played that, but Keir has done it as well, and it's to our benefit. And, look, this is an important visit, you know. Keir needs to be discussing what's happening in Gaza with him, what's happening in Ukraine, and he really needs to be pushing...
What about what's happening in Britain?
I was coming on to say, hold on, I was coming on to say the third big issue that Keir's got to push him on is steel and tariffs, which is massively in the interest of British workers.
Should that not come before Gaza? Well, should that not be number one? That affects people here. I don't know, but what do you make of it?
OK, I think that obviously there is a level of respect that needs to be given to Donald Trump because he is the President of the United States, and I think that people who complain about him coming here are moronic for that reason. I think that I admire what he's saying. I think, credit where it's due, actually, I'm going to say it to Keir Starmer. I think he has done well with his relationship with Trump. I thought that would be a car crash, and actually it hasn't been, and so credit where it's due. It sticks in my craw to say that, but I will. But I think that we need more people who will say, because like it or not, immigration policy, not immigrants, not people generally, but immigration policy is the thread that goes through every single issue that we face here in the United Kingdom, from infrastructure to, you know, our debt, to spending, to cohesion, to everything stems to that. And that doesn't mean that you're having a go at immigrants. That doesn't mean that you're being awful. It just means that that's the policy that you're against, and we need people to say that.
I actually forgot that we now had a working microphone in the audience. So would anyone like to make a point on the track? Yes, good lad on the front row here. Go on, can we pass the microphone down? Is that all right? What's your name, mate?
James.
James, where have you come from?
I come from Mepham, Kent.
Lovely, brilliant. What would you like to say on this, mate?
I think, I don't know why people hate Trump so much. You know, he's such a good guy, saying good things. You know, look at Big Nigel. You know, he's trying to do some wacky things. But yeah, I think Trump is a great guy. You know, just give us some slack. You know what I mean?
Oh, there we go. Yeah. Hey, can I ask, how old are you, mate? How old are you?
I'm 18.
18, yeah. Right. So when you have those kind of views, do you get a bit of stick for that sometimes?
Sometimes, yes. Yeah, especially in my family.
Oh, really? Right. I'm here, haven't I? Sorry. Do they know you're here?
Yes, yeah.
So they're watching this now?
Yeah, hopefully, yeah.
This is your opportunity. This is your opportunity to tell them that they're all wrong.
You're wrong.
Yeah.
Trump is all right.
Brilliant. No, I love it. I do love it, especially when we get people on who are a bit younger and you come and you realise that, you know, not everyone who's like 18 and 20 is this, you know, kind of rabid left-wing person who's, you know, who's out there. So I think that's really good. But right, we're gonna move on from Trump now because I am really excited to find out which way you want Rachel Reeves to make your lives worse, because she's going to. So it's either going to be more tax. OK, we've got the idea of doing away with the triple lock or making people pay for the NHS. So this is what the IMF have told her that she needs to do. When we come back, we're going to be finding out all about that, and we'll have Greatest Britain Union Jackass as well, which you can all get involved in. So we'll see you in a couple of minutes, shall we?
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations forecast.
Hello, it's the hottest time of the year over the eastern Mediterranean, but even so, temperatures are going to be 5 to 10 degrees above average through Cyprus and parts of Turkey. Inland temperatures could get into the mid-40s. Not hot, though, across central and western parts of the Med, with quite a few outbreaks of showery rain spreading south across Italy. Largely fine and sunny for Spain and Portugal. Plenty of sunshine in the Canaries, and temperatures also rising in Tenerife into next week, getting into the mid-30s.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors.
Good evening. This is your GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. Looking ahead to the weekend, and there will be some showers around, and some of these could turn a bit heavy, maybe even thundery for some of us. But there will also be some dry, warm weather around too. Currently, though, we do have a weak front, making its way southeastwards across the UK. And this is bringing sort of 3 zones of weather. There's a cloudier zone running from northern England through Wales towards the southwest of England, and a few spots of drizzly rain here. Further northwest of this, there's a few clear spells around, but also some scattered showers across Scotland and Northern Ireland. And then in the southeast, something a bit drier, but some clear skies here. Temperatures aren't dropping a huge amount. It's a relatively warm start to the day tomorrow because we have quite high humidity, but with that, with the clear skies towards the southeast overnight, there could be some pockets of mist and fog first thing. These will quite quickly clear, and then we do see that front still continuing across some central areas, bringing some slightly more persistent rain for a time, but further north across parts of Scotland, Northern Ireland, it's those showers that are going to continue to pile their way in. Now, they are going to be quite scattered, so hit and miss. Not everywhere across Scotland and Northern Ireland will see those showers, but if you do catch one, some of them could be a little bit on the heavy side. Further south, and that swathe of rain that pushes its way eastwards could turn a bit more showery as we go into the afternoon, and that's when we could see some heavier, possibly even thundery bursts across parts of Lincolnshire into East Anglia, maybe the East Midlands as well. Temperatures for many tomorrow are going to be a little bit lower than today, but with some decent sunshine around, it's going to feel pretty warm. Temperatures peaking in the mid-20s. By Sunday, something a bit heavier, more persistent rain-wise is going to push into parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland. Elsewhere, there are again going to be a scattering of showers around, but they don't perhaps look quite as intense as the ones in the east on Saturday. And then as we go into the beginning of next week, high pressure may start to build from the south, so a quieter start, but more changeable weather to come.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Live studio audience, I say every week, but I do mean it, and it's my favourite audience yet, so give yourselves a big pat on the back. Yeah, all right, well, I do mean it. Anyway,
every week.
Oh, yeah. So the Chancellor is going to have to raise taxes on working people, scrap the pension triple lock, or start charging for the NHS. These aren't my words. This is a warning from the IMF, so it's gone right to the very top here. The International Monetary Fund says that in the face of mounting debt, weak growth and ageing population with a massive pensions bill, Rachel Reeves is going to have to make one of those tough decisions. So, it's going to be difficult. Does anyone here want to pay more tax? No.
Yay!
Does anyone want to... Yeah, does anyone want to scrap the triple lock for pensions? No, so we're already off to lose here. Would anyone want to pay to use the NHS? Which, by the way, we already pay to use
for it anyway.
in tax. We do. Right, so no. So that's going to be a bit of a lose. What do you think, Miriam, about this, what the IMF have said here about Rachel Reeves' options?
Well, I think the IMF is absolutely correct. And if you read the report, I don't think they actually use strong enough language to describe what a desperate situation our economy is in. We are absolutely stuffed. There is no other way of putting it. We've got a combination of a budget deficit where we spend more than we get in every year. We've got astonishing levels of public debt. And unlike a lot of other countries, a lot of that debt is not protected against inflation. So we've now got spiralling costs of interest. So each year, we pay £106 billion just to maintain that debt, just the interest, and that's going to go up and up and up. By 2070, the OBR predict that our debt to GDP ratio will be 270%. I mean, that's unsustainable. We are cooked if that happens. So the problem is we have been living beyond our means for decades, and we've been enjoying a very generous welfare state, very generous pensions in terms of how much they increase every year, and a very generous health service, but we've not been able to afford it, and the chickens are coming home to roost. And I feel for Rachel Reeves, because she has tried to cut the welfare bill by a tiny amount, I mean, really, really a small amount, and her backbenchers have let her down. There really is no other option but to seriously reduce public spending. I don't think we can tax people much more. I think tax has already reached immoral levels and levels where people just don't want to work anymore, so I don't think that's going to work.
We need to do three things.
But we have got to reduce the size of the state, and that is going to mean tightening our belt, and that's going to be hard. But frankly, there's no other option.
Sorry, Andrew, you were saying to you...
No, I think we should do three things. Number one, we need to doge every public sector institution and cut public sector waste and work waste. Number two, stop spending on the boat people, full stop, and stop spending on net zero.
But Andrew, nobody would disagree with that, least of all me. But the order of magnitude difference between the things you've just described and the amount of money we need to save...
Well, it's a good start. Look at the billions that we're spending on net zero.
But these are pennies compared to the 150 billion
What pennies? What we're spending on the boat people? Really?
Net zero is 300...
Compared to pensions, yes.
Net zero.
Compared to pensions, you're talking 3 or 4 zeros different to the projected increase in pension as a result of the triple lock.
But this is a start. They won't make those difficult decisions.
It will not solve the problem.
Andrea, I know it's a reform-speaking line to say scrap net zero. Net zero is 350 billion over 25 years, half of it played by the private sector. So it would actually free up about £1 or £2 billion a year.
And what about the boat people?
The idea, and that's a few billion more.
That's $1.5
The challenge is colossal beyond that, and the idea that what you're saying meets that gap is simply not credible.
I'm not saying it'll meet all the gap, but that's a start. That's what I'm saying.
But let's come back to the IMF report. Overall, it gives a positive assessment of the government's strategy to boost economic growth. But in terms of, ending the triple lock, which personally I would be in favour of, the government is not going to do it, certainly within this Parliament. Paying for the NHS, no. They're going to have to face up to the challenges over the summer and make decisions in the budget. But we need... that the underpinning motor of this has got to be improved growth.
But what would you do, then?
We've got to face up to the reality. In 1960, there were 5 people of working age supporting every pensioner. We're now down to 3 to 1. And in 2050, we'll be down to 2 to 1. It doesn't matter how many pride parades you cancel, you cannot change that basic maths, that the number of working people supporting those who aren't working through their taxes has collapsed.
Okay.
Yeah. We are going to have to face that.
Well, in fairness, you're both right, in as much as we are absolutely... I mean, we are... You say stuffed, I would use a word that would have taken off air, because we are in absolute...
We're way ahead of you.
We're in the brown stuff, aren't we? Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely, yes. It's brown. drown and we're sinking.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's absolutely unbelievable. And you're quite right. The levels of debt. I mean, they make what we borrowed during the financial crisis like just absolutely pale into insignificance. I mean, how ridiculous it must be now to think about all of that borrowing we did for public sector pay rises, actually, as soon as this government was elected, and all of the billions that was spent on that. And I actually do think we need to have a conversation about the NHS no longer being a bottomless pit of money and actually talking about free at the point of use, but how it is paid for, whether we allow... Because so many places on the continent have a private element to their healthcare. It's still free at the point of use, but they have private money in there. And when you do say that in this country, it's like you've been blasphemous.
OK, yeah, we can't with the... But look, we had a church service for the NHS. I mean, give me strength.
I'm going to applaud for it again, shall we?
So the gentleman on the front row here would like to make a point about this. And then what I'm going to say is, once you've done, I would like to just try to squeeze in one more point from someone else. So if you could then... The chat behind... Oh, it's easy. Right, there we go. Go on. Yeah.
Perfect. So, just recently, at a recent cabinet meeting at Basildon Borough Council, myself and Councillor Shields here, we was handed 800 pages of documentation, coloured printed pages, which probably cost around £50, £60, 5 minutes before the cabinet meeting. Now, when we're talking about wastage and when we're talking about wasteful spending, it's incredible that this is still allowed to go on, and we need to look after the pennies, and the pounds will look after themselves. And I'd like to invite Zia Youssef to come down to Basildon Council to really have a look to see what's going on here, because if we look after the pennies, the pounds will look after themselves, and the wastage that's going on at the moment is incredible. OK, so it's a bit of first-hand waste. Now, sir, we're not going to have time to come back to this, so just keep it quite brief, if that's OK.
I'll be very brief. I'll bring it back to the original question. Which of the three would we give up? I'm a working man. The country's full of working men. Don't touch the tax. I'm fast approaching pension age. Don't touch my triple lock. The National Health Service is being abused by lots of people who have never paid into the system. Make that chargeable and work out who still wants to be here and use it then.
Interesting point. Interesting point. This is why I love the audience for this show. It's why I love the audience. You know, you learn a lot. So thank you very much. When we come back, it's time for Greatest Britain Union Jackass. So that'll be up to you to decide that, won't it? So there we go. See you in a sec.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
Only on GB News.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's completely unacceptable to have a biological man in a female-only changing room. And from my personal point of view, I was abused as a child, and having a man in our changing room is a particular trigger for me. And the Trust just did nothing about it, so we had to take things further.
So you complained to the Trust about this. You and your colleagues got together, and they just ignored you. They didn't really care about it.
Not a bit. They didn't care at all. We wrote a letter of concern. 26 of us signed it. And the response was that we needed to be re-educated, we needed to broaden our mindset, and they backed this trans person 150%.
So, Karen, this person who identifies as Rose, on one occasion they were staring at you or your colleagues' breasts in this changing room and asking, are you getting changed yet? Another of your colleagues had a panic attack. I don't think it was you. Is that accurate?
That was me.
And what do you make of people who call you a TERF or a bigot for complaining about this kind of thing? Because that's what they say.
They do, yes, but there's been loads of positivity out there for us. There's loads of positive comments, and I'm not a bigot. I'm not a TERF. I'm just fighting for what's right. I want to feel safe when I get changed. Yeah. There's what's happened to me could have happened to other people, and I want to be a voice for them to stand up and come forward and say this is not acceptable.
Karen, you're a brave lady, you and your colleagues, and I'm glad, actually, it was Wes Streeting who intervened in the end, one of the more competent Labour ministers, who told Darlington Hospital, sort this out, pull your finger out, don't be so ridiculous, and he got involved and he sorted it out for you.
GB News, the People's Channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5.
You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah.
Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight on the unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace to
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News,
the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Studio audience, you've been fantastic this evening. People coming from far and wide. We love to see it. So let's round off the show with Greatest Britain Union Jackass, and we're going to start with Greatest Britain. I might as well work my way down. So Miriam, go on.
So my Greatest Britons are the mothers of Epping. So this is the town who have been organising protests because they're afraid of the safety of their children being taken away. And they are not the stereotypical protesters, but when mums get involved, when mums are worried about the safety of their children, then things usually change pretty quick.
It's a good thing. Don't get in the way of the mums. You can't stop the mums. So go on, Christo.
OK, I'm going to go for Sacha Baron Cohen, because have you seen him lately? Oh, my God.
Oh, sorry, hang on a minute. Who's put his face on my body?
Patrick, if you look like that, I'm telling you now, I don't know why I can't finish that sentence. So I'm nominating him because, you know, he's a man of a certain age. He's gone through a divorce. He's had a tough time.
Take it out of his Ozempic.
No, he was joking when he said
absolutely.
that. And also, so what? You don't just get that from Ozempic.
Okay.
Otherwise, I could take my shirt off and you'd be amazed.
All right. Well, on that note, go on, Andrea. Who's
I don't know if you've been seeing the last couple of weeks. The last British-owned oil company, Prax Lindsay Oil Refinery, has gone into receivership, and Miliband won't save it. And there's one of the workers who went to see Miliband. There's 3 of them, but Dave Smith, he dropped some truth bombs with Miliband and said how net zero is killing their industry. And they're nearly, you know, there's nearly squaring up to each other. I mean, Miliband was truly annoyed with the truth bombs. So well done, Dave Smith, to standing up to Miliband. We all want to.
Good. Bill, who's your Greatest Britain?
It's an honorary Greatest Britain. It's Serena Wiegman, the women's English football manager. I'm going to tempt fate. I think we can win on Sunday. She's a real role model. She was told when she was growing up, girls don't play football. She fought back. Appointed England manager in 2021, 3 tournament finals in a row. And what this tournament has demonstrated, what you need from a manager in football is a winning mentality. Okay. She's got it.
All right. Well, there we go. Right, so I will be very quick with this, very quick, so I want to get to Union Jackass. The mothers of Epping. I think that might win, actually, so I'm sorry, we're going to have to wrap it on. But now, we're going to go, Bill, who's your Union Jackass, please?
It's a collective jackass, and it's the number of councils advocating a 4-day week at 5 days' pay, and I'm at risk of being accused of being a reactionary. We've got a productivity problem in this country. Post-COVID, too many people aren't back in the office, and the idea that you solve our productivity problem by paying people when they're not working is nonsense.
Shocking, absolutely shocking. Now, I'm going to go to you, Dame Andrew. Now, we've got a video. We have got a video of this. So go on, talk to it. Be quite brief, though, please.
No, I'm a vegetarian. I love animals, and these migrants were stealing a goose to take it back with them to eat. And when I was a Boston councillor, I saw that very regularly on the River Witham. It happens a lot. So,
we can have a look at it. Let's have a look at this.
It's terrible.
Oh, my God. What you do with that?
Yeah.
What you doing with that, bro?
I got it.
You gonna eat it?
Yeah.
You catch it outside?
Yeah, it's important now.
All right, now, what I will say is that we don't know 100% that they are migrants. However, what we can gather is that they are eating a goose and they don't speak a lot of English. So, I mean, you know. Right, Krista.
OK,
yeah.
I'm going for the journalist Judith Woods, who has written a piece for The Telegraph saying that Sacha Baron Cohen's body... Right, no, hear me out, has said that basically that his post-divorce body is repellent to most women. Now, could you imagine, seriously, if a man wrote a piece about a woman who just lost loads of weight, feeling really good, and said that they were repellent?
Right.
This is misandry, it's wrong, and I don't like it.
Go on, Miriam, go on.
My union, Jackass, is the WHO, the World Health Organization, who claimed that COVID vaccines had saved 20 million lives, but a new report has found that it's a fraction of that. And, of course, the only winner from that massive vaccine programme was Pfizer and the other drug companies who tripled their profits in some cases. So I think they're going to have to backtrack.
Good stuff. Right, OK, so if you need Jackass, would anyone go with the World Health Organization? That's fine. The woman who slagged off Sacha Baron Cohen. OK, the goose people. Lazy councillors. All right, it's the goose people.
I think it's close between
Save our goose, that's what we need. Yeah, but seriously, this is ridiculous. We're seeing this more and more now, aren't we? People licking geese and all this sort of shocking stuff. Anyway, right, thank you very, very much. Firstly, to everybody at home or listening on radio who bared with us through a couple of little issues there, thank you to my wonderful panel. Thank you most of all, though, has to go to this fantastic audience. It's the most people we've ever had. Probably had the widest range of people as well from all over in fact, in the case of Doha, all over the world. Thank you very much, everybody.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good evening, this is your GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. Looking ahead to the weekend, and there will be some showers around, and some of these could turn a bit heavy, maybe even thundery for some of us, but there will also be some dry, warm weather around too. Currently, though, we do have a weak front, making its way southeastwards across the UK, and this is bringing sort of three zones of weather. There's a cloudier zone running from northern England through Wales towards the southwest of England, and a few spots of drizzly rain here. Further northwest of this, there's a few clear spells around, but also some scattered showers across Scotland and Northern Ireland, and then in the southeast, something a bit drier, but some clear skies here. Temperatures aren't dropping a huge amount. It's a relatively warm start to the day tomorrow because we have quite high humidity, but with that, with the clear skies towards the southeast overnight, there could be some pockets of mist and fog first thing. These will quite quickly clear, and then we do see that front still continuing across some central areas, bringing some slightly more persistent rain for a time, but further north across parts of Scotland, Northern Ireland, it's those showers that are going to continue to pile their way in. Now, they are going to be quite scattered, so hit and miss. Not everywhere across Scotland and Northern Ireland will see those showers, but if you do catch one, some of them could be a little bit on the heavy side. Further